Welcome to the first ever Tape Notes Discord live chat. We have got two awesome people to talk to today, Sasha and Jonathan, who are the founders of GPU Audio. And we're going to find out all about the amazing work that you've been doing with GPUs and audio processing and how you're trying to take us further into the 21st century with your technological development. So, how did you two first meet? What are your backgrounds? I guess individually, what are your backgrounds? The two paths that took you to meet together and create your new world.
I'll let Sasha start.
Hey guys, I'm Sasha. I'm one of the co-founders of GPU Audio, one of the inventors of the technology. So I met Jonathan like 3 years ago over LinkedIn, which was a very funny thing because LinkedIn now in the professional space, it's like it's beyond what Facebook offer, and all of the guys that doing something like products and services, they're there, and all of the like hangouts and all of the posts come in there, not in the Facebook or not on Twitter anymore. And well, I was just posting about our recent results in some group, and Jonathan he was exploring things, and how did you find me exactly, Jonathan? What was the case? I don't recall exactly.
That's a great question. I actually don't even know how I found you, but I saw that photo, your profile photo on LinkedIn looks like a prom photo or something. And,
Okay.
like a school dance. And I was like, who is this guy, who's posting about this incredible tech? And, it triggered me because, I come from an immersive audio background. And I remember when I first bought my first high-end GPU, it was a GTX GPU, on this system. And I had bought this AMD Threadripper CPU with all these, threads, and then I got a high-end GPU, and I realized, my performance didn't improve one bit, by buying like a super expensive Threadripper, when I was producing sessions and stuff. And I realized, okay, there's got to be another way to, harness some sort of power. What options are there? So I started looking into the GPU to see if there were options out there. It led me to ask some questions to a good friend of mine who's the founder of a super big headphone company, audiophile headphone company. And he said he came from a GPU background. And then I started going on LinkedIn and looking around to see if anybody was working on this tech. And then somehow I came across you, Sasha, and saw that profile photo, thought, I'm going to reach out to this guy. And then when you gave me the pitch, it changed everything, because I realized this is, it's not just like a cool product or something. It's a new standard that's going to power the future of, everything that we do is audio producers, and then probably beyond that, which obviously now we're finding. So that's how I came across you, was just through the luck of the draw. And I happened to be on vacation up in Idaho, hanging around in the snow, and had nothing better to do that day. So that was almost 3 years ago now, and I joined as a co-founder. Yeah.
So this is just one part of a story, John, and for the audience, we originally tried to bring the GPU audio back in the day, like 2000, probably 11 or 12. We started to bring the DAW as a technology. We failed this because of the variety of reasons, because of the investments, because of the bringing the DAW as a technology back in the 2011 or 12 was extremely tricky. We tried to bring it with a .NET technology. That was stupid decision. We tried to bring it Windows only, and we tried to bring the GPUs there. The latency back in the day was like 15 to 30 milliseconds, like the very first iteration of the tech. Then we failed with this attempt, and then back in the 2015, we started over again with quite a bit different idea of bringing the platform. Not like the product, but more like a platform that will empower the future products. And that's absolutely different to what we are building today compared with the first attempt. And now we are ending up today with 37 people joined our company and the full time, working from 13 countries remotely. Mostly this is Europe, but we also have people based in the US, in the UK and the other countries, and including UAE. And we have most part of the team is engineering team. We have almost like 10 PhD people. The original technology that we developed, we call it Scheduler. We already announced this technology, and we made publication at NVIDIA GTC last year, NVIDIA GTC 22nd year. This is like a developers conference organized by NVIDIA. We basically provided a half an hour video explaining how we implemented the technology without like getting into the detail and spoiling any commercial secrets, and we also explained like what it gives to the industry, because there's one industry that is like pro audio industry, 4 billion, post-production, 20 billion, consumer audio, like speaker and microphone system that also have DSP chips on the board. It's 90 billion annually. So the TOM market is like way beyond 350, where the audio is being processed in the variety of forms, like SaaS services, embedded devices, plugins, software, whatever it is, game audio. There are plenty of the industries that utilize the audio, and we are on the mission to create the new platform that allow to process audio real time at scale.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes us different.
So the whole idea is really to speed things up, so that if you're doing this, it will be real time. There'll be no latency. How long do you think it took, or why do you think it took so long for this to be developed?
Yeah, there are many attempts, official attempts, when people try to use GPUs in the audio processing. Liquid Sonics, Acoustic Audio, Neil Schneider, they all released some of the products, not like commercially, or probably commercially, but then they discontinued the releases. Those releases, they were adding 8,000 or 4,000 samples of additional latency. We know why. So there was no real time processing back in the day. The three key challenges, computer science and mathematical challenges needs to be solved before getting your GPU unlocked for the real-time audio. The first challenge is when you do program GPU, you need to find the ways for each operating system, for Windows and for Mac OS X, through the development tools. Like for NVIDIA cards, it's CUDA. For AMD, it could be OpenCL or whatever. We use HAP. For M-Silicon GPUs, it's Metal. You have to find the ways how you send the data very quickly. You batch combine the data request to the GPU. You process on the GPU, send it back. This is something that you as a developer don't have with those SDKs. They don't offer you a functionality like this. So you have to recreate this functionality on your own on the very low level, which is assembly language level. This is what we did exactly in order to be able to unlock it for 1 millisecond latency. And you can go to our website, download it today, especially for Windows, NVIDIA, it works like a charm. If you have a setup for your NVIDIA control panel, if you have a laptop, like most people have laptop, because according to sales statistics, now we live in the laptop world, not the desktop anymore. And in laptops, for NVIDIA-based laptops for Windows, you typically have embedded CPU integrated GPU in your CPU, like Intel, and NVIDIA GPU. So if you download our stuff, our products, or like third-party products in NVIDIA control panel, you set up global settings to your embedded GPU, Intel one. And this way you will have your discrete GPU graphics cards dedicated to the sound processing. And in this way, you would be able to work within 1 millisecond latency. That's what we have enabled. And this is not the option that enables it. This is like the option that enables it with our technology, right? And the other two challenges first challenge was math behind the classic DSP algorithms. As you guys might know, if you're like producers and musicians, you know that some classic DSP algorithms like IR filter, they're inherently sequential to process. And the idea behind GPU processing or any like DSP, SIMD device, single instruction, multiple data device, is when you can parallelize the code and you can run on multiple cores, right? And obviously, to turn classic DSP algorithms like IR filter to make them parallel with the classic design is impossible. This is their nature. You cannot parallelize it, right? You cannot parallelize the classic schematics of IR filter, and you can't run it efficiently on the GPU. However, you would be able to offer an alternative design of the IR filter that offers the same DSP properties like transfer function, window function, all of the DSP audio processing properties, and you would be able to make it GPU friendly. So you kind of reinventing the math approach, how you would be able to port all of these DSP algorithms for systems like GPU. And the third one is how you get this low latency processing with this math actually implemented engineerically speaking, like how you actually code things. This is like another challenge because this is something that you as a developer does not encounter with the SDKs available like CUDA, OpenCL, shared languages like OpenGL. Anything like this doesn't offer you this thing. So that's why it took so long. And that's why we call this is a new technology. This is not like you can download NVIDIA CUDA tomorrow and you would be able to code things with the same properties, meaning latency, performance, and things like that. That's why it's so complicated.
Yeah,
Jonathan,
it's very.
you have your own version.
Yeah, my version is that if anybody in the audience is having a hard time understanding a lot of what Sasha's saying, that you're in the same boat as the people that weren't able to solve the problem in the past. It's because the problems compound, right? The technological problems range from the computer science and mathematical all the way down to what was actually available in terms of platform and tool set on the hardware itself. So yeah, that's why this took so long to build it. And there were some honorable attempts, that could be shouted out, but most of them are one-off projects, from other independent standalone developers, who weren't really thinking in terms of platform. And that's what really separates this from the pack in terms of historically the use of GPU. Yeah.
And what background do you have, Sasha, then, that has enabled you to make this leap forward?
Yeah, it was not just me. And when we speak about like the people who created the new technology that changes the life or at least tries to change their life, we usually speak about the people that has like a T-shape, where deep technology in some certain area and the very broad understanding of how things work. We were lucky to gather the team of professionals from a variety of industries like audio and DSP engineers, meeting GPU engineers, which is quite unique because no one tried to bring the company that will have this as a mission, bringing the two things together and offer it as a technological platform, right? So this is not was just me, but the other guys like Markus Steinberger or Alexander Prokopchuk and the other guys that accompanied me through this journey for more than 5 years, Andres Vizo and the other guys, and Basil Smotok, and all of these guys, they are professionals in certain area. So when we started tinkering about how we can actually make it possible, because like you, with the basic technology you use like SDKs, you cannot even guarantee the latency. So you have to bring a very specific people that owns this knowledge, including NVIDIA guys and Apple guys and the other guys. You have to work with them closely. Like with AMD, we worked for more than half a year together to make it reality, right? You have to obtain this knowledge, and then you have to use this knowledge to pivot the standard APIs and standard SDKs in the way you need it and to make it possible. So these guys, they all have backgrounds as PhD engineers. I have a background as a postgraduate student, so I completed my degree in Russia originally, and I am alumni of Baumanka, which is sort of alternative to the MIT of US. It was one of the universities that prepared telecom engineers, DSP engineers, and I was studying like DSP and FPGA originally, and microcontrollers. But then during my study, I was curious about the uprising NVIDIA CUDA technology back in the 2010. It was like the very first version of CUDA being published. And then I was trying on my own to bring the new algorithms as my diploma subject, as my diploma topic to the GPU platform. So that was my research case. And then when I graduated from my university, I started working in high frequency trading for bank systems. So I was essentially writing the bots that were not quite high frequency, not quite low latency back in the day, but I was using GPUs to do quite a lot of work non-real time. So I was trying to connect my researchers at university, how to basically port the algorithms to the GPU and then to utilize GPU in high frequency trading, but not real time, because there was no tools for that to turn it real time back in the day, except like Linux things. But I didn't know any Linux service because we didn't have any money. I just got a CUDA based laptop and I was like literally programming it. And then we just grab all of the people together as a team and started in 2015, all of the engineers, the names I already told you today, and the other guys that have a knowledge of how VST works, audio unit works, how NVIDIA CUDA works, how MDHIP works, things like that. And we're starting gluing things together. And it was extremely complicated because, for example, neither VST standard, neither audio unit standard was designed to allow distributed computing when you offloading things. So that's why the other guys, like hardware-based companies like UAD, for example, Universal Audio, they also encountered the same problem as we encountered. And that's why some of the companies, they offer features called double buffering, right? And things like that. And we learned all of these things that we need to solve and to glue in the technology we call GPU audio platform. And here we are today.
Yes, yeah, it's interesting because it seems like it was such an international operation that you needed to bring all these brains together from different parts of the world to try and work out how to get over this problem. But at the same time, a lot of different people would have had different vested interests, and it must have been difficult to try and persuade people that no, they could work with you or work with another company without putting themselves in a bad situation where they're undermining their own position within that world. You know, it must have been hard to persuade all these people to start working together and realize that there's a greater goal, a greater good involved in trying to do it together rather than safeguard their own personal financial interests.
Exactly. I have a funny story, and I'll let Jonathan to tell more about it. I have a funny story. One of the guys who is a coder of this technology we call Scheduler, it's actually called like dynamic low latency dependency aware scheduler, super complex name for it. Markus Sternberg is a professor of Technical University at Graz, and he also is visiting a lecturer at Max Planck Institute in Germany. So he's like the academia guy, and he has a very solid technical background, and his other colleagues of the Technical University Graz, like Dieter Schmalstig, they are all well-known academia professionals. So I was kind of stalking my future co-founder Markus for 3 years, and I was proposing in different ways to create what we call today Scheduler, because I was encountering his papers, and I was realizing that this guy, mathematically speaking and computer science speaking wise, he was doing the exact things we need to turn classic DSP algorithms, audio algorithms, to the GPU, and to actually schedule those algorithms efficiently. So I was quickly realizing it. And I had like the other guys already brought as a team that had a knowledge of the audio engineering, how things working in the audio, what kind of the algorithm needs to be, how the VST stack and the other technological stack when you turn your things on in the DAW work exactly. So I brought this in, and it took 3 years, and it was super funny. I got lucky. I don't know. He was convinced after 3 years of attempts, and then we started our work. But it was like 2 years more before we got any, substantial result. So we tried and we failed, and we tried again and we failed, and we solved the latency issue only in 2020, before the COVID start. And before that, it was low latency, but at the same time, it was not consistent. Like on Windows, we got the dropouts randomly. We didn't know what's happening. People know the term that's called TPC latency. That there's a thing, and when you have like NVIDIA GPU, the audio guys, they are super afraid of thing called TPC latency, because somehow through the RQ interruptions they have like latency increased, and they encounter the dropouts. So we solved these challenges. We narrowed what is causing this on the operating system level, and we offer this as a technology. Yeah.
And so, Jonathan, what was your role in this? So when you could see all the progress that Sasha and his colleagues were making, you wanted in on this because you've got more of a musician's background.
Yeah, I'm a diehard, musician. I'm actually a professional saxophonist, which is impressive to everybody's mom, I guess. It's like all the moms love saxophone. I got a funny story about that one time walking through a mall, and some lady in her 60s was like, "Ooh, contact me sometime." No, it's okay. I thought it was a great technology because, I'll try to give you the very short version. Okay. So I got to the stage where I wanted to explore beyond the saxophone, right? So I started experimenting with modular synthesis, electronics. I started integrating that kind of stuff into my workflow as an instrumentalist. This is sometime after my master's degree, during the 10 years that I was a professor. And during that time, I became very interested in spatial audio because I heard for the first time prototypes of the Magic Leap. In the Magic Leap headset, who, by the way, the guy who designed the spatial audio of that is now on our advisory board. But on the Magic Leap headset, I realized, okay, augmented reality, virtual reality, the way that spatial audio, and this is, mind you, like probably 7 years ago. Okay. So back before Atmos was a thing, I started getting into spatial audio because it expands the palette that we have as artists to be able to express, right? Tell stories. Personally, I see the future of music as not music as a commodity, but music as experience, and sound as experience. And I think the lines between what do we consider sound, what do we consider music, is really getting blurred now. So I was interested in trying to find technology that would enable me to do that. So my vested interest in GPU audio was really because at the time I was actually trying to build a application that would allow you to deploy a virtual reality album directly to the web from a local folder. So what we designed was this system where you could drop 3D visual assets, audio files, album artwork, and text into a folder and double click an executable, and it would populate a local host website, which is basically a website that's running on your computer that is a virtual reality experience with spatial music, with album art, with visuals. So we were trying to basically create a VR version of Bandcamp, right? Was the vision. And I realized that web audio standards, it's like every 2 weeks, shit would be broken. Like we can't, it's like 1 week it's working in stereo. The next week, Apple Safari is only supporting, mono. Then it's like Ambisonics 2 weeks later, then it disappears. So all of these standards kept changing. So I really, when I heard about GPU audio and when Sasha and I started working together, my personal goal was to try to integrate this into what we were doing with spatial audio. And what that led to was a market analysis eventually, when I started working more on the business side of things, which was to look at and say, what are the areas where GPU audio could be most useful, when it comes to creative workflow? Because we all know as artists that, we start on things way earlier than mass adoption begins, right? It's like, artists have the benefit of, driving culture. Although arguably we get taken advantage of a lot too, when big tech companies, pick up on that and start to try to usurp the power and control. But from my perspective, GPU audio was a platform and a vehicle for creative expression. Once we were able to connect that with other companies. So what I started to do was really try to connect the dots between where is this technology going to be the most useful. And what we found, obviously, is that people who are working in spatial audio, just like the Vienna Symphonic Library, which is being released soon, and a number of other companies that are working with us, like Mach 1, Mantra IO, very cool companies. All of them have interest in expanding how artists can create with immersive audio in a way that is not super expensive and in a way that's easy to use, right? And in a way that's creatively fulfilling. So it's like, to me, where is it? So I got a laptop here, right? It's like, in the past, if I wanted to run an 80-track Dolby Atmos session, right, where every track has 12 channels and maybe every channel is running like 4 convolutions, because of the processing that I'm doing, it's just not going to be possible on the CPU, right? You've got these dropouts and stuff. And basically I'd have to go and build, either buy a bunch of external hardware or something. But now that I can unlock the GPU that's already on my system, it allows me to be able to have those experiences without having to invest thousands and thousands of dollars in extra hardware. And I could just focus on what matters the most, which is creative output. So that's what really got me excited about it. And that's basically what my role has been since, is connecting the dots with companies, whether they're tech companies or other audio companies. That's where I live, is in this business development and synchronizing with artists and everybody. It's been a real joy to do that. So sorry, that was supposed to be the short version. There you go.
No, that was good. So, I mean, if you could summarize that. So in real layman's terms, if you were talking to a man on the street or a woman on the street to say, look, this is going to transform your life, and then explain how that will happen really, really quickly. And what would be say, if somebody were to get involved in this, what would be the most immediate result they could get that would make them go, wow, yes?
It's very simple. You don't have to do anything as a user to enable GPU audio. You just have to install the GPU audio enabled version of the software of your choosing. And when you do that, that version of the software will, on average, anywhere from 70 to 90% CPU usage reduction. So that's the big goal here, is just unlocking that amount of power. So, that's it. You just start creating, and we get rid of the 0 to 1 problems, the creative roadblocks, and as we expand with different software that we integrate with, this is going to change. So, in a lot of great ways. So, maybe one day, A, B, and C company, your favorite company, is using GPU processing on some of their plugins. It means you can run more instances, right? It means that you can, have less latency. It means that stuff that would normally have so much latency because it's heavy processing that you can only run it in a session. Maybe you can use it for live shows now, right? So this software that we're doing with Vienna Symphonic normally is used in studio sessions for mixing. But now that it can run low latency, you could feasibly use it to run live Dolby Atmos shows in a virtual stage. And so it unlocks the power that's already on your computer without you having to pay anything, basically.
That sounds very exciting. And we have actually got a really exciting giveaway as part of this chat, haven't we? So we've got one license of MIR Pro for Vienna Symphonic Library to give away. And there's a link in the chat that people can use to kind of sign up for this. And you were going to, Jonathan, give us a tiny little demonstration or a look at this thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's a great point. So and I know someone was asking, will they get to ask questions? So I'm conscious of that. So John, whenever you want people to ask questions, just let me know and I'll stop. But do you want to answer a question before I show you something, or?
Yeah, well, I know. I just wanted to explain that the thing that you're going to let us look at, it could actually be somebody's for free, basically. Just wanted to emphasize that there's a great opportunity here to get one license of the MIR Pro for Vienna Symphonic Library, and there's a link in the chat And if people go to that link and put in their email, then they'll be in the hat, as it were, to win this license, which is very exciting. I think, Jonathan, you were going to kind of demonstrate this as much as you could via Discord today, so that people get an idea of what it's all about.
Totally. We were having some audio, connection issues through the interface. So sorry, guys, you might have to just hear a little audio through my mic or something. But let me kind of screen share real quick and show you what this software is and what our role in creating it was. So let's do a screen share. Okay, so I'm running Nuendo right now, and you guys can't see it because I'm only sharing the window of Mir Pro. Let me switch over to Nuendo and show you, if I can, the project. I guess I can't. So basically what's going on here is this is a standalone application called Mir Pro 3D. And what it is it's a virtual stage. So I can zoom in, I can rotate the scene. This is literally I would call it a volumetric spatial capture of a real stage in real life. This one is in Salzburg. I think it's called the Festspielhaus. It's a famous hall, of many performances for lots of years. And basically what they've done is every position on this stage in real life has been captured and upscaled ambisonically with impulse responses. So it's an incredibly heavy software to run. Normally they recommend running an Intel Xeon processor, very heavy stuff. But basically every one of these objects that you see on the screen has a send that's going to my DAW, and it's going to Nuendo right now. And Nuendo has tracks, right, of all these virtual instruments that have been provided in a session. And basically, this is a spatial mixing app that emulates what a real stage sounds like. And acoustically, like if I were to take an alto flute here during a solo and move it to another spot on the stage, the sound of the reverb is going to reflect the way it sounds, not just in terms of stereo panning, but it's actually going to reflect the way it sounds acoustically on that stage because it reprocesses the impulse responses every time it moves. So it's very, very heavy software, fairly easy to use actually. And there's a bunch of cool features on it, you guys. Like here's your instrument, obviously. You have some dry signal handling stuff you can do. You can change how much spatialization is going on, the width, the rotation of the object. You can even apply room equalizers, which is really cool, which normally, you don't get to do that. And then you have two virtual microphones. So what these microphones do is the signal that you are hearing is actually a mix of these two microphone positions. So the first one right here, the main microphone is in the conductor position right here. And then the other one is a higher order ambisonics, Dolby Atmos, decoded top and rear focused microphone. So you can see it's like right here. So you can move those microphone positions around, but I won't do that now. And here's the beauty of the GPU audio version. It's literally just a button, right? So the way that we've integrated with this is that normally all of this is done on the CPU. But what we've done is we've implemented basically a different data flow running on the GPU so that when you click the GPU, inside of the code, let's pretend there's a bunch of different modules of digital signal processing, right? And at some stage, it reaches the convolution stage. What we've done is instead of going through the CPU, we just pivot it over to the GPU processing, send it back to the rest of the instrument. So our role in this was fairly straightforward when it comes down to it. And the role for you as a user is actually super straightforward. If you have a GPU installed on your computer, you click GPU, it reprocesses the impulse responses on the GPU, and then you can get on with your session essentially. So let me see if the audio is working. It's going to sound mono because it's through my mic, but can you guys hear any of that? Oh, hold on.
I think so. Ah, here we go.
How about now? All right, I'm going to try to change the window so you guys can see the Nuendo project itself. Let me know if you can see it or if it's just a white screen for some reason. Can you see that?
Can see it now.
Okay, great. So as you can see, there's about 78 tracks here in this session.
again, man.
I wish you guys could hear what I'm. I wish you guys could hear what I'm hearing on the headphones, obviously, because when I'm panning these objects around, it's very spatial. It basically sounds like 3D immersive audio without having to have a multi-channel speaker system. And the awesome part about it is that, like I said, normally you wouldn't even be able to run this on my desktop. You know what I mean? Because I'm not running a powerful enough processor. But because I'm running on the GPU, what I can show you is I'll do one more screen share for you, where you can see my task manager with the CPU usage. So let's start the session here. Nuendo is about 13%. Vienna is only 2%, 3%. And my GPU is being utilized, right?
I must say, and add to it that Nuendo still needs to mix 78 tracks multiplies 12 channel, about 800 channels. So that's why there is still some CPU usage, and we clearly are not part of the Nuendo yet.
Yeah, so I'll do the math here. 78 tracks times 12 channels each times 4 convolutions per channel is 3,744 convolutions running in real-time latencies with only about 2%, 3% usage on Mirror Pro 3D and about 10% or less on Nuendo. So it's just, it's basically unlocked my ability to be able to use this on any device, which is really, really cool for me.
Jonathan,
because I like to do this stuff in real time.
Excuse me, can you run it on the CPU? You can just click the button and wait until it loads, and then we'll see whether we can also demo this.
My version of this crashes when I switch back to CPU. So
okay.
Anyways,
yeah, I wish
it's an early beta, so yeah. But on the CPU usage, it's about 10 times the amount.
Yes.
Processing.
We can also offer you guys to watch the NAMM show videos where we demoed this. I posted one of the links. That was a smaller project, not like Dolby Atmos 78 tracks thing, but there was an alternative stereo project. But for this Stravinsky Sacre digitally reconstructed orchestra, there is another link for that. We are going to share via the Tape Notes podcast after this session. And during the NAMM demo, we had about 76, 78% of CPU usage running on the CPU. On my Intel Core i9 RTX 4090 Razer laptop, the most powerful laptop you can buy today. So Intel Core i9 was 32 threads, 32 cores, logical cores of Intel, right? And this is the most expensive, most, innovative CPU you can buy for a laptop. At the same point of time, we had this NVIDIA GPU. And when we switched to the GPU version that we offer, it went down from 76% to 8-10% only, which for you guys, for the audio producers, it creates a room of what else you can run, right? And this digital Nuendo Digital Orchestra project, it's like a complete project, right? So you don't have any other tracks in your draft, and you don't raw them in the mixer, so you don't utilize them when you just run this clean project, right? But when you do create, you have like 200, 300 tracks if you work with movies or TV, film score and things like that, right? And you need to run it all. CPU can't do it. So that's why VSL says that, well, you guys need like Intel Xeon, AMD Threadripper to basically run our software real time to monitor things and do things like that. Now with GPU, when we offload one of the computational heaviest operation, which is convolution, it is just as beautiful as you heard. It's like going down to 10% only. So there is more room of what you can do else, running the other plugins on CPU, running the other plugins on GPU real time. It works on the mobile chips, meaning if you have a laptop, not just Windows NVIDIA, but once VSL will be available, probably this June, it will be also M Silicon MacBooks and Mac Studio and things like that. So you'd be able to see this and feel this experience on your Mac systems as well. And Jonathan?
Yeah, I just thought I'd share. So anyways, this software is normally really expensive, guys. So yeah, just enter the giveaway because it's normally about $800 for this incredible software. Vienna Symphonic Library ecosystem is huge. They have a ton of really high-end sample stuff, but you can also run your own sounds through it. So just getting the Mir Pro 3D and the GPU accelerated add-on as a result of this contest, it'll give you a really cool spatial mixing tool. I thought I'd also shout out, another system that is being built right now that we premiered at the NAMM show that's also going to be running on GPU. I won't play any of the audio for now. I'm just going to show you the visuals, but this company is called Mantra IO, and they've invented a new way to do basically augmented reality. And this was like a very early prototype that we showed, but it's an augmented reality system where you can use your hands to actually craft and mold and shape sound design. So that object in the center is a collection of sample maps. And as you move your hands around, you have, multi-touch control, essentially tracking volumetrically. And eventually this will run on your phone or your iPad. You could set it up next to your webcam. And you could be in session in Ableton, switch over to another window, and suddenly you're basically in a virtual or augmented reality scene. And you can use your hands to conduct and move and shape the sound. So GPU Audio has an important role to play also in that application and what they're building. So yeah, we basically ran a room at the NAMM show called the Innovation Lounge, and the Innovation Lounge was a great spot because we were able to bring a bunch of really cool companies. We brought AI based companies, spatial audio companies, sound design companies like these guys, Mantra, who do a ton of stuff with like Resident Evil, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, things like this. And it was a space for us to show, the power of new platforms and what that unlocks for the users. So just wanted to share that also.
Yeah, that looks really amazing. I think if anybody's got any questions, you can put them in the chat and I'll try and get through as many as possible. The Mantra thing is like a theremin doing some kind of 3D audio manipulation with your hand, which is kind of amazing. But it seems to me that the GPU audio is going to become a standard, isn't it? I mean, if every laptop downloaded this and we ran all the things we want to do, and this freed up the actual power that these laptops still have to work more efficiently,
that's the idea.
This will become the kind of standard thing that everybody will be using as a base level, isn't it?
Exactly. It's like, yeah, and think of it this way. Just the easiest way to think of it is it's a co-processing standard. It's like, your GPU is just sitting there 90% of the time, 99% of the time, unless you're happen to be playing Cyberpunk while you're producing music. Probably unlikely unless you're insane like I am, and you just have to get that idea out right away, right? So, but generally speaking, just having this implemented, right? And when you talk about standards, I think it's important for the audience to know that, like, GPU audio will be linked up with a lot of interesting things. It'll find its way into the plugins that you have first, and then it will start to find its way into standalone software, and then you'll probably start seeing it on the cloud at some point with some other really great companies. Where you're running GPUs that happen to be on the cloud, and well, why not? We can run stuff there. So a lot of companies that are talking to us are talking about porting their software to the cloud or improving their cloud services. And a lot of those are music companies, excitingly. And then also hardware, right? We're talking to, I can't say any of the company names, but we're talking to like a lot of major hardware companies that want to say, look, we've been using Shark chips in our hardware that's 15 years old. How much would it be to embed a GPU system in there, like an ARM plus GPU? You could have 100 times the performance, thousands of channels. It's like, you imagine like the biggest interfaces in the world boast about 256 channels. Well, what if there wasn't a limit on channel count, right? Because what if you actually had that power And it's not that anybody would need 5,000 or 10,000 channels of audio, but it's like if you have that kind of power and bandwidth available, that gives you guys as users the power to demand interesting new products, not the status quo, not just being squeezed for money, on minor upgrades, right? It gives the marketplace more power to demand awesomeness, So that's what I'm excited about as the standard becomes adopted,
Yeah.
and it's beginning with everybody's support. Frankly, the user community is what has made this possible as a standard, in my opinion. In addition to obviously our incredible scientists on our team.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I mean, it kind of relates in a way to a question that's come in from JD Witt, which is about how dependent you might be on these other companies. For them to be work with you and for your work to be compatible with their plugins and their updates of their plugins and their technology. Is that going to be a problem for your customers, or are you confident you'll be able to offer reliability? In the way that you want people to be reliant on what you can offer.
Yeah, so I can take this question. So I also see the other part of the question, like there's still no AMD support for non-pro cards. Yeah, so first of all, answering this question, the whole support for the AMD cards is being done through the HIP driver, which is distributed by AMD. So we do support it all on our side, and it's up to AMD to ship a new driver to you guys and you to install this driver in order to receive the support. And unfortunately, we can't speed this process up. We are like in very deep relationship with AMD. We know that the early access just started. Early access FIR Convolver, the very first product that we released, started with only Pro cards. But there are great news are coming to you guys. So first of all, if we speak just about AMD, we're already showcasing the same VSL MIR Pro 3D GPU powered at NAB show right after next to the NAMM, after 3 days after the NAMM in Las Vegas, and it worked like a charm. So there is no practical difference between it. When it comes to our plugin support, those beta free plugins that are available now for free, we are going to support them all, not just FIR Convolver, but all of the bundles we released so far for AMD in the next 1 or 2 weeks. Again, the reason why we didn't do that from the beginning, because there were multiple technical support issues. Now they are resolved. We'll just upload the files very soon.
Yeah, I can answer. I can also provide a little insight specifically for the case that was in the question because I just read it. So JD Witt was also specifically asking about for instance the AMD support not supporting non-pro driver cards yet. Though the way that I would explain it is like this is like a short-term hump at the early stage of AMD support. So once they provide the proper access and support, which they already have, it's internal right now. But once that gets rolled out and those non-pro driver cards are supported, in the future, it's just as simple as us providing the driver support. You know what I mean? So they send us the drivers in advance, we support them, and then it's done. That's the simple way of putting it. So the limitations that you guys see right now are not going to be there in 6 months, and they will permanently be basically gone. And AMD has a huge vested interest in continuing support with us. So that's the way it is. And our team is a middleware focused team. So we are focused on providing that support. We are not so dependent upon, the other companies because our technology doesn't necessarily rely upon their SDKs and everything to begin with. So, we have a lot of autonomy in this sense.
Yeah, so let me reiterate this once again, super shortly. So AMD will be supported for consumer grade drivers, including APUs, by the way, in the 2 weeks. We also are aiming to release the Mac version of the plugins that we released, as well as VSL in June. The VSL probably would be the very first product that will have all of the possible card support inherited. And probably then we're going to support Mac version, not just for the FIR Convolver, but for the plugins we already released for the Mac. So it's coming like in 2 months rather than 6 months. Again, there will be a transition period because it's open beta. When we need, guys, your hardware and you guys testing these things out and sending us report what doesn't work in each particular DAW, because all of the DAWs are extremely different. They work in different way. They implement VST, API, and audio unit in different ways. Even the Reaper and Logic Pro, they are quite different in the way they work with Mac OS X and audio unit. We need you to help us know what's wrong with it. So that's why it's open beta. That's why it could be buggy. There's no other way we can bring the technology but with you guys, because it's impossible to do from the very first time without encountering all of this problem. That's impossible. We'll literally bring in everything in the first time. The other guys that did, like Neil Schneider did it with OpenCL, it has nothing similar to Metal on the Mac OS X. He can't make it for M-Silicon GPUs. He needs to find his own way to bring his products to Metal. It's like completely different universe, completely different development environment. And he needs you guys as well to test things out. And this is pretty common for all of the early stage development companies. So that's why we are doing all of that and rolling out one thing after another and adding support. And another small tiny part of this question, like how we tied in relationship with AMD, Intel, Apple. For this stage of today, we're not tied anyhow. From at the very beginning, we need to get the knowledge on the very specific implementations of specific components back in the day, because this knowledge is not a part of the CUDA SDK of NVIDIA or HAP of AMD or Metal of Apple. It's not published there. You can't get this info unless you speak with the developers directly and you invest quite a lot of time in it. So we now own this knowledge and we understand how things work and the backgrounds in their stack. Like they didn't share their code with us, but they say you have to use this, you have to use that in that way, and you can have what you want.
Right.
And now we have this knowledge, and we basically can just release the product. I'm saying the technology is already there.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's addressing all the skepticism from JD Witt is expressing that I think a lot of people probably have is, is it going to be a worry for customers? No, because once that knowledge has been shared with us, it becomes part of our knowledge base, and we can continue to release things even without their direct support. Frankly, we did 99% of the work ourselves anyways. It was just like a little bit of access to certain things that we needed to get it done. The partnership agreements that we form with companies like that are really well, I can't really say much about them, but they really help, and they help us, it helps with them to prioritize things like this, because, audio has not been prioritized in the silicon industry for pretty much the history of the entire thing, but that is changing, thanks to what we're doing. And that's all I can really say, but yeah, we're not worried about losing support. And actually, as the industry continues to gain traction, and the new niche that we've created gains traction, the support is increasing greatly, especially from Apple and everybody else. So it's moving forward really nicely. Okay, so I see a bunch of other questions.
Yeah,
here.
Well, I mean, I was going to ask that one question, kind of inspired by J2, but a lot of people who listen to Tape Notes, music makers, a lot of them are creators, a lot of people starting out in the music industry as well. And J2 was wondering, they're studying acoustics music technology at university and looking at courses and things to investigate for a thesis, but looking at what they should be studying and ensuring they should know about, really. So if you can cast your minds back to when you were starting out, Sasha and Jonathan, and the things that you studied, because you put in a lot of study before you got where you've got now. And if people are to try and keep on top of technology as it develops, and obviously in at the same time maybe unlock their creativity, what direction do you think people should be looking at? And obviously using GPU audio in order to help facilitate some of that progress?
Well, so I can start as a musician because my answer will probably be shorter. Sasha has a totally different career path that I had, early on in our education and stuff. But, I actually, none of the education that I studied in school had anything to do with tech. It was all about performance and pedagogy and composition, improvisation. But I feel like the benefit of spending time doing that was that I was able to align myself with what the trends actually are, right? Because I found that if you study technology in college, oftentimes you're already 10 years behind, right? So, and this is notwithstanding, it's true in many fields. I feel like the areas in universities, like in the academia that I've seen have expanded a lot though, is in virtual acoustics. I think that's super smart of you. I think spatial audio and immersive audio studies is really big. If you haven't looked up Hyun Cook Lee, the founder of, I'll put his name here, friend him on Facebook or something. Because, he's the founder of APL, Applied Psychoacoustics Lab. Incredible stuff that they're doing. They have a new software called Virtuoso, which is like a really high-end binauralizer thing. The way that I tend to look at things now, as opposed to the way I used to look at just see what is trending in the artist community, right? And I could use that to be like, okay, but what I realized that I needed to do is start taking a look at the market too, and try to figure out, where are companies investing? Where is the market research going? Where is there seem to be an expansion, right? So like, for example, 4 years ago, I noticed that the compound annual growth rate of the audiobook world was like about 25% year over year. That's a huge growth rate, just to put it in, layman's terms. It's massive. And at the same time, in research, people are talking a lot about, is spatial audio bigger than just music, right? Because the music community is having a hard time catching on to it. So my answer was, okay, spatial audiobooks, narrative experiences will be the future. And lo and behold, it's like really catching on right now, right? So, if you can kind of predict trends that you see are going to be happening in terms of like where your art or where music and audio may be useful in the future, you can connect those dots yourself, and you can start to make decisions for yourself about what you think you need to focus on in your studies. So that would be my suggestion to you, is to do that. And also immediately start getting acquainted with AI as much as possible, because if you don't do that, you're going to be behind the times regardless. So that's my short answer as an artist or musician.
I probably also have my own answer for this question. So the audio world, like the audio students and people that got educated in the audio and acoustics and music, it's quite different to the technology world. And I would say, as a guy who runs the business, they are not anyhow connected. Definitely, it's like, how the violin is connected with the Intel CPU. It's barely, and there are very few people, developers and companies that are actually trying to solve some problems simulating the violin, so it can be played digitally through the plugin instrument, whatever, in your DAW. And there are very few people who actually understands both worlds, like software engineering and the music theory behind that. And physics as well. It's like there are so many areas you need to combine to be a little bit successful in the music tech. So my general advice here is more like computer science guy, like the guy that is more tech rather than music, is first to learn Python. Without Python today, you can't do a thing. You don't need to have like C++ heavy things. Just learn Python. It will be okay for you to try yourself in the music tech without creating the product. You still can craft some other pieces of software, third parties, combine them together. So if you want to explore machine learning today, you can't do this without Python. You still can do a few things, as prompting guy, and you can prompt something. You can study NLP and you can prompt something. And today AI goes multimodal. It means that AI can actually receive not just the text, but like the video, the pictures, the audio as an input, and also as an output, like generate something for you, right? But if you want to empower your idea at scale, you definitely have to learn Python and some machine learning frameworks and libraries like Torch and TensorFlow and Onyx and things like that. That's what I strongly recommend you as a hard skill. Another thing is in music technology, there are very clear trends, and some of them Jonathan already shared with you, like spatial audio is the very next big thing. It takes a time to be in the music space, and Spotify and Apple as two giants, two music tech giants, I would say, they recently started investing in bringing the spatial formats to the consumer end, which for the audio engineers and producers means that they have to deliver the content that is compatible with spatial formats, which for us and for the students means that, okay, now we need to bring the products that can mix and edit the music in the spatial formats, right? Now you can clearly see that how these things are connected between the two, and what your role could be with this uprising trend and emerging technologies, whether you want to be a product guy or engineer guy, computer science guy that will bring the product, or you will be the producer, the user that will utilize the new products that will appear, I don't know, like Mach 1 platform or new Dolby renderer, and you want to mix in spatial and to see how it can work or how it can make a success for some artists in Spotify. Why not? Like, you can do it. I guess my final answer for this is that we live in the different world today. It's extremely dynamic, and today you have a privilege to experiment everything with a very low cost. In 2010, it would not be the case. In 2015, still no. And the COVID era and post-pandemic era changed quite a lot. How people interact, how people collaborate, how people roll out new things, how people, invest, and all of that thing. And now you have a privilege to try things out and try on your own to do something. So I strongly encourage you guys to forget about what's been created in the past, whether it's content, whether it's product, doesn't matter, and to think what you can do next and how you can leverage the power of the platforms, not just GPU audio, but like the other platforms that already exist, how you can glue them together and you can either produce something unique or either you can create something unique for the other people so they can produce it. So that's totally what's new in the audio space and music tech today.
If you're less academic, if you're not in school and you want to get more relevant, there are a lot of interesting applications that accept Python, that you can use Python within. So for example, Touch Designer, allows you to write Python scripts to program visuals and things like this. Or if you have Unreal Engine, there are ways to integrate. So like, if you're in audio and you want to experiment with other tech, working with those visual programs like that, where you can do audio visualizers, might give you something that's really tangible and less abstract to work with, where you can get some experience using that code to create something that's artistically satisfying as well. Might be fun for you.
It's such an interesting and mind-blowing conversation in many ways. There's somebody in the chat, Luke, has said, me leaving this event, and he's got this picture of a brain being hit by all these different light beams of thought. And it feels like that kind of a conversation because, we're so used to these different worlds you're kind of bringing together in a way. I think everybody loves technology and the benefits it brings us in various different ways, be it creatively or for entertainment. We all love using it, but obviously there are people who create these things and make it happen. And in some ways, it seems as if this is all being brought together in one place with the development of GPU audio and the way it's going to explode the computer and the world of the computer and what we can do with it, just because of all those limitations which have held us back so much. I mean, even in effect with this conversation, the kind of latency we experience as we talk to each other via Discord, that will all change if everything is embraced within this new world that you're kind of potentially creating. So, it's been really, really interesting to find out more about it and how it works. And there's still further opportunity to get hold of this one license for free. So we were thinking we might try and get the list together and pick a winner within this conversation, but we're not able to do that. So if you find the link, click on the link, put in your email address, get in the draw, and we'll be announcing the winner of the one license of MIA Pro for Vienna Symphonic Library, worth $800, as you're explaining, Jonathan. On our social media, the Take Notes social media pages, we'll be announcing that in due course. But you can still enter the competition while we're still kind of here. So find the link and get your email in. And I mean, you've got a lot to orchestrate with GPU audio. If you've got 37 employees across, 13 different countries, it sounds like that would be quite, a bit of a nightmare to do that. Have you found that your own technology improves your ability to do that, to communicate with all your colleagues across the planet?
I mean, we're not using GPU audio for voice chat or anything like that, but I would say that the fluency, the technological or computer fluency, literacy that everybody has makes it a lot easier to work remotely, because we've been a remote company from day one. So that's my thought.
There is one beautiful company called Crisp AI, that led by CEO David Bagdasaryan. He solves as he says, he solves $1 trillion problem of reducing the noise in our life experience, I would say. And through Discord and the other integrations, Crisp AI reported they have 200 million downloads. I cannot confirm this number, but this is what they say. They utilized not like GPU audio technology, nothing like this, but they use TensorFlow and PyTorch to create the machine learning libraries that basically reduce the noise. Because Isotope RX is a good one, but machine learning power tools are more like strong alternatives to classic approaches, I would say. And Crisp AI is one of the great examples of the voice tech, and we discussed possibility to integrate that, but the audience of the Crisp AI, which is more like not the audience of this podcast, not like audio audience, like general broad people, they are not very much into the GPU stuff, right? And also there are other companies like Dolby that has Dolby I/O service, and they offer a SaaS model, how you can embed all of the voice enhancements, speech enhancements to your products if your product is a web service. So they also do some noise canceling and things like that on the CPU at scale. But I think that this would be a really good thing if they can embed GPU audio, because if you want to run it at scale of hundreds of thousands of channels, you definitely need GPU rather than CPU if you don't want to break the bank. Another great example is NVIDIA. NVIDIA released the product back in the day that's called RTX Voice. The RTX Voice is the very first GPU product that worked for the noise canceling in the audio. Now it's a part of the solution called NVIDIA Broadcast, and like millions of people, they use NVIDIA Broadcast. That does not just noise removal, but the other types of effects, including like video screen effects. When the streamers, they can use like they can turn their heads, but in the stream they can have their head like stick right in the camera, which is quite unique thing they offer. And the problem with the RTX Voice still present, and the main problem is that it works with a Windows stack, and the latency is about 30 to 50 microseconds. And we've been discussing this with NVIDIA, how we can help them to basically port their models and do some real-time processing. And as well, RTX Voice utilized like the entire GPU, or like the big chunk of the GPU power whenever we run it using just a piece of the cores. And you can run several processes on the same GPU. So in that space, GPU Audio offers unique features for the products, and it can be integrated very nicely without creating additional latency or stuttering or jittering for any other processes. So we are in the multiple discussions with other companies beyond the prod industry, including like professional home speaker companies and things like that, how we can get our technology leveraged, because as Jonathan says, we can have this deployed on any GPU that is based on data center or embedded GPU of NVIDIA Xavier or NVIDIA Jetson. These are tiny embedded GPUs that you can encounter in mobile consoles or in Tesla cars, so pretty much everywhere. So those GPUs can be embedded in the speaker system and microphone system. They can offer new types of algorithms run in real time, for sure.
Amazing. Thank you so much for supporting Tape Notes, and thank you so much for being part of this conversation today. It's been absolutely fascinating. For anybody who hasn't been able to take it all in at once, which I think it would be quite understandable, the talk has been recorded, and we will post it here on our Discord channel and our Instagram stories for people to look at and listen to again, and share with other people and spread the word and tell people about it, because it's absolutely fascinating and really, really interesting. I think that if people haven't been able to join us today, they would still like to have a listen and a view of it all. So do spread the word. Keep up this fascinating work in the world of GPU audio, Jonathan and Sasha. We look forward to further developments, because it sounds like there are developments all the time, and you're constantly exploring so many different avenues that are probably going to affect us all, in our day-to-day lives, from what you're saying.
Yeah, as an artist or as a producer, musician, I would just recommend, if people want to get the most up-to-date news, the easiest way is, follow the Twitter, join the Discord, typical stuff like that. And just know that we're working hard. We're releasing new products for you guys to try out every couple of months or so. And then the third-party releases are all coming. So there will be sign-up sheets to get those, and special discounts and stuff to make things more affordable as well. So John, thanks a lot. You guys run an awesome ship over here, and it's a pleasure to be part of it. And I hope we can talk again, very soon. And yeah, thanks for giving us the opportunity to share.
Thank you, John, and thank you, the audience, for your questions. We are looking forward to release more, guys, for you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Jonathan, Sasha, thanks so much. And thanks to everybody for getting involved with this Discord chat today. It's been great to have you here. And we look forward to doing more Tape Notes Discord chats at some point in the near future. In the meantime, check out our new episode. We've got a great new episode with James Ellis Ford about his solo album. This is the producer who's worked with Arctic Monkeys and Florence and the Machine and Depeche Mode and so many other amazing artists. It was a fascinating discussion we had with James at his home studio. We got to hang out with all his gear, as well as the great man himself. So that's our latest episode. Thanks once more to GPU Audio. Thanks to everybody for being part of this today, and happy endeavors creatively with whatever you're up to. Good night.